My parents favored my sister my whole life. Then she found out I had $10 million and had a full-blown meltdown at Thanksgiving dinner. When people inquire about my childhood, I often steer the conversation elsewhere. It wasn't that my upbringing was terrible. I had food to eat and a place to stay, but it was far from ideal. My name is Rachel, and I'm 38 years old. I've decided to share my story not for sympathy, but because someone out there might relate. At 8 years old, my world shifted dramatically. My sister Sophie arrived prematurely. I recall my father rushing to the hospital in the middle of the night while my Aunt Lisa stayed with me. Everyone was anxious about the baby, and I was no different. I didn't fully grasp the complexities of premature births, but I understood something wasn't right. Sophie survived, though she was incredibly fragile. Our home transformed into a miniature hospital, with my mother constantly cleaning. The sharp scent of disinfectant lingered in the air. If I so much as sniffled, my mother's concern was never for me, but for Sophie. "Rachel, was that a cough?" she'd ask, alarmed. "We can't take any chances. Pack a bag. You're staying at Grandma's for a few days." I frequently found myself at Grandma's or Aunt Lisa's, as though I carried an illness. Initially, these visits felt like small adventures, but over time I realized I was being pushed aside. Desperate for my parents' approval, I excelled in school. I earned top grades, joined the debate team, and even won a science fair. Yet Sophie's health always overshadowed my achievements. "Look, Mom, I won the science fair," I'd say excitedly, clutching my trophy. "That's nice, dear. Did you wash your hands?" "Sophie's been feeling a little under the weather," she'd reply dismissively. By the time Sophie turned 7, she had outgrown her illnesses and was finally a robust, healthy child. However, my parents remained stuck in their protective habits, unable to let go. Sophie, realizing the power she held, began to exploit their unwavering attention by feigning vulnerability whenever she wanted something. High school was supposed to be my moment. I worked diligently, maintaining excellent grades and joining various extracurricular activities. Yet Sophie's needs always took precedence. One night, my science teacher informed my parents that I had a real shot at a science scholarship. "Rachel is one of our brightest students," he praised. Then my mother's phone rang. Sophie was at home with the babysitter and distraught. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Karen asked, concerned. Sophie sobbed through the receiver. "I can't find my favorite pen for homework. The one Rachel gave me is awful." Just like that, the moment was gone. My parents rushed home, abandoning the conversation about my future, all to help Sophie locate a pen. After that, they stopped attending my school events entirely. "It's just easier this way," they reasoned. "Sophie gets upset when she feels left out." When I won the state debate championship, they didn't even display my trophy. "Sophie doesn't like seeing other people's awards," Karen explained, tucking it away in a drawer. Getting accepted into college should have been a celebratory milestone. I had earned a full-ride scholarship to state, covering both tuition and living expenses. I was thrilled, until I stepped through the front door. At dinner, Sophie barely looked up before rolling her eyes and saying, "Finally, you can move out. I'm turning your room into my gaming setup. I want 3 monitors and a streaming rig." From that moment, I started counting down the days until college. Those years flew by. I spent as much time as possible on campus, treating home like a pit stop for occasional family dinners, where Sophie monopolized the conversation with middle school drama. By junior year, I was accepted into a highly competitive internship. It was paid, intense, and challenging, but I loved every second of it. I learned to code, developed apps, and impressed the company's founders. Upon graduation, I was offered a full-time job with equity. I moved into a small apartment and started living life on my own terms. While Sophie continued to flounder, she changed majors 6 times in college, I focused on my career. I wasn't flashy, just determined. Within a few years, the startup was acquired by a tech giant, and my equity translated into millions. I didn't scream it from the rooftops. I didn't buy a yacht or a sports car. Instead, I bought a modest home, invested wisely, and kept working. Then came Thanksgiving. Sophie, now 30, was still living at home and exploring her passions, which mostly meant streaming video games and complaining online. That Thanksgiving, we were all seated around the table when Tom asked, "So, Rachel, how's work?" Before I could respond, Sophie jumped in. "Probably boring. She just types on a computer all day." I smiled politely. "Actually, it's going really well. I've been promoted to lead a development team." Karen clapped. "Oh, that's wonderful, dear." Sophie rolled her eyes. "Big deal. I have 5,000 followers on Twitch. That's influence." Then Tom, oblivious, asked, "Do you still have stock in that company that sold?" I nodded. "Yes, I kept most of it." Sophie froze. "Wait, what company?" "The startup I was with. It got acquired a few years ago." "How much did you get?" she asked sharply. I hesitated, but Karen, thinking nothing of it, chimed in. "Oh, it was a lot. Rachel was smart. She made around $10 million, didn't you?" Silence fell over the table. Sophie's face turned red. "You're a millionaire, and you didn't tell anyone?" "It's not something I advertise," I replied calmly. "It doesn't change who I am." Sophie exploded. "But I'm your sister. You should have helped me. I've been struggling, and you're just sitting on all that money." I was stunned. "Sophie, I've worked hard for everything I have. I lived on instant noodles while building my career. You've had every opportunity handed to you." Karen tried to intervene. "Let's all calm down." But Sophie stood, knocking over her chair. "This is so unfair. You owe me. You're just hoarding money while I'm stuck." I stood up too. "I don't owe you anything. You had our parents' love, attention, and support every step of the way. I had to fight for every scrap." Then I walked out. That was the last Thanksgiving I spent with them. I still see Aunt Lisa and Grandma, but as for Sophie and my parents, we've grown apart. It took me 30 years to realize I didn't need their approval. I just needed to approve of myself.